Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Thank you very, very much for being here. To my new subscribers, welcome. To everyone else, I'm so grateful. And of course, I adore you. All right. So I don't know how it happened. I don't. But somehow we're at the beginning of September, which means that, there's, what, I don't know, about 8 weeks or so maybe left until the election. And, September after the Labor Day weekend tends to be when, people who really aren't paying a lot of attention to politics kind of tune in, right? Because the summer is over, everybody's kind of gearing down into the autumn months. And it's like, oh, yeah, wow, there's an election coming up. Maybe I should focus and pay attention. So, we're heading into kind of like a home stretch here. So what I'm going to do today is I want to take a quick look and just see what the political situation, temperature, etc., in the United States is going to be for the month of September. I think later on this week I will also do minis on the Harris campaign in September and the Trump campaign in September. All right. So, I guess let's get started. I just want to say just something little, just sort of, something I've noticed. That Harris certainly seemed to be able to pull together a very powerful, a very strong, a very well run campaign in considerably less time than is typically the norm in US politics. And it just makes me wonder why on earth you guys just can't have, election seasons that run like even 12 weeks. Most other countries are like 6, 8, 9, somewhere in there, but even 12 I'll give you. And and then actually spend the rest of the time like doing the government's business, as opposed to, somebody's in office basically for a year and then all of a sudden they're gearing up for the midterms. It's like crazy to me. It's not a wonder it takes so much more effort and work to get stuff done, particularly, of course, because the country has become so divided lately. But we're just going to do what we can do and see what we can see. All right. So here we go. So I'm looking for the US in September. Shuffle. And here we go. Uh, September US political, September US political, September US political. Here we go. Um, So, not surprisingly, honestly, we're starting with the um, Eight of Swords. Okay, so you've got sort of this sense of imprisonment. And it's interesting because who is imprisoned is actually the American people. As they're trying to maneuver their way into a new election cycle, they're looking for a victory. Okay. And they want a balance returned to the country, the extreme partisanship and the viciousness of certainly the Republican campaign has really people are saturated with it, and they truly want to return to something that feels, I don't know, like kind of normal. Um, it is as if the Republicans led by Trump have taken not a step over the line, but a giant leap over the line into really like unbecoming behavior. The lying and the grifting and the cheating and the outrageous statements. And, in the space of 2 sentences, they will argue the exact same the opposite of one topic, and then tell you that, you heard wrong. And people are just sort of getting done with it. They want, um, the political arena to just settle itself down. You know, part of what has happened, all right, is that with the Harris Walls campaign, as it sort of geared up and started really, moving forward, became really sort of clear, became that much clearer, how really, really different it was from the Trump campaign. It people it was almost like their campaign made Trump and his campaign look 100 times worse than it was, just because the contrast is so sharp and so startling. People want some discipline. They want some kind of law and order. They're tired of this, and they're tired of the threat to democracy. They're not liking it. They don't appreciate it, and it's really propelling um, people to, you know, think very carefully. So this is interesting. The Knight of Swords is usually kind of that, um, sort of that fast moving energy and kind of, results be damned sort of thing, right? But in this instance, because it's following the King of Swords here, what it's actually talking about is people are getting really, really super motivated. They want this election wrapped. They want to get this done. They want to see the insanity and the stress and the aggravation and the worry. They want it to dissipate. Nobody thinks it's going to go away completely, because it won't. Because even after uh, Kamala and Tim win the election in November, which they will, you can anticipate a few more months of Republican slash Trump people arguing and screaming and fighting and not conceding elections. And this was stolen, this was stolen. And, honestly, am I the only person who doesn't remember? Like, I think it was the first um, press conference that was given after Trump took office. And somebody asked, whatever that guy's name with the bad fitting suits was, Trump said that the election was rigged and the results weren't going to be true and it was a fake election. And so what does he say now that he's won and he's in office? And the answer was, well, he said as long as he wins, the elections are accurate. And if he doesn't, they're wrong. Like, why do people not remember that? Or if they remember it, why are they just sort of like, has it just gotten blended in with the insanity of Trump? I mean, honestly, somebody should really be using that as like an ad campaign, because truly, I think that was the first time with clarity that people really, really saw the degree to which the Trump campaign was prepared to twist and manipulate and distract from the truth. I mean, let's not even get into the whole, crowd size thing, right? So there's a segment of the population that is sort of sitting back and they're going, okay, we're just going to watch this for a little while. These kind of feel like the undecided ones. And interestingly, it feels like some of sort of, I want to say some of the younger voters in red states who are, they've been surrounded by kind of Republican ideas and attitudes and beliefs. And they're looking at it and they're not just so sure that that's actually reflecting what they want to see going forward. They have far more hope that that there can be impactful change, and that there can be a move towards something that reflects the predominant energy of people who are, dealing with sort of unity, who are dealing with wanting to move forward and make things more inclusive. overall, I have to tell you, the country's exhausted. It's just exhausted, and it wants to move away from this. And what's it followed by the Three of Swords. Okay, not to look at all the swords here. Oh my goodness! Like we've got the Three of Swords, the Ten of Swords, the Six of Swords, the Nine of Swords. Not to mention the King and the Knight of Swords. I mean, they're just everywhere, right? And interestingly, part of what is sort of being brought to the fore as a result is the degree to which the ambitions, the blind ambition of some politicians um, are being seen now almost with more clarity, I want to say, than they have been in the past. And again, that doesn't tend to bode well for certain, Republicans. All right, now let's just see if we can see. Sorry, I'm looking for kind of significant events. I'm well aware of the fact that the debate is what, like 7 days away. And I don't know, do we think Trump's going to show up? Do we think, he's been so busy sort of, shooting himself in the foot. And worse, it's bad enough he's shooting himself in the foot, but he's also shooting all of his campaign workers in the foot too, because they say something, then he turns around and says the exact opposite, and they can't get him to stay on message, and he won't stop rambling. And so, I don't know. I don't know. Let's take a look. Events for September, events for September, events for September. Okay. Now, you're being told this so that you don't panic. All right. Over the month of September, for reasons I don't understand, but it feels as if the race is going to tighten. So right now, pretty much everywhere you look, the Harris Walls campaign is ahead of the Trump Vance one. They're getting way better press. They're getting amazing, amazing um, rallies and energy around the rallies, and the volunteers and donations. That just continues to build and build. But it feels in some ways almost like it's almost going to go into like a bit of a holding pattern. And I'm not saying there isn't going to be flux, but what they want me to remind all of you is that the polls are not accurate. They're not an accurate reflection because they're not polling, by and large, the people who are going to have the biggest impact on the election. They're not polling the, what is it, 40 million new young voters who are now old enough to vote in this election compared to the last election. They're not polling the, that younger generation who don't own landlines. I mean, their cell phones are attached to their hand, and that's all there is to it, right? Um, and so they're not getting the right information. And so even though as you go forward, you're going to hear a lot of sort of talk about, I don't understand how come she's not polling better. I don't understand why he hasn't lost support. Well, because they're going into the same well, and that well is a reflection of, generally speaking, older people who have landlines. Um, and so, you're getting an energy that is almost fixed, as opposed to one that's sort of just a little bit more fluid. So interestingly enough, the way they're showing this is that they want you to know that the magic is actually still happening. And even though there are going to be some real underhanded behaviors, tricks, that kind of thing that go on, it's not going to reflect, like the poles are going to stay sort of the way they are. Now, this is the thing. Apparently, I think I've got this right. It's something like the threshold of the number of support Trump gets sort of has never exceeded, I think it's 47.5%. So anything that Harris gets above that, is to the good because he has um, by and large, he has all the support he's going to be able to get, right? So there's that. But you're being told this because they really don't want you to start panicking. They don't want you freaking out and thinking, "Oh my God, this is never going to end. This is horrible. We're going to be trapped with this crazy person in the office again." And it's not going to happen. But you're being warned to keep your emotions kind of in check because those doubts create an energy that feeds doubt and panic and loss of hope and sort of an almost an inability to read a situation clearly. So it's about everybody kind of keeping their cool, keeping their calm. As September, unfolds, you're going to want to continue to work as hard as you can work. You're going to want to make sure that at least every couple of weeks you are checking your voter registration and making sure you're actually still registered. You're going to want to make sure that you know kind of what the do's and don'ts and options are of how to vote and when to vote and what kind of voting you can do for your state. You want to be really clear about what you're able to do to move this situation in the positive direction that you're looking for. Okay. And so that is not about, sort of, you know, worry and anxiety, right? It's about staying very focused. There is an abundance of data that is not being accurately tapped. So therefore the accuracy is not um, solid. Okay. So again, what they're talking about is the people who are not being um, contacted when it comes to the polling and the people who are really tired of what they're seeing. They're tired. People are so tired of being left out in the cold. And they really want this sort of greedy kind of behavior to just stop. And let's not forget, there is powerful, powerful energy around women and female energy. And, if you've noticed lately, Trump has been flip flopping about, what his thoughts are about, abortion. And apparently he flip flopped on his thoughts about legalizing marijuana, I guess in places where it isn't legalized. Um, and so more and more, he's starting to look like panic stricken. And the women, whether this is Kamala or whether it is other women who are running, they are gaining more and more strength, except for Carrie Lake. God bless her. Okay. Oh, by the way, the person who is running against Carrie Lake, his name is somebody Gallego. To the person who sent me a message and told me how to get that pronounced accurately, I thank you. Um, he's doing amazing, amazing. Apparently, like the last one I saw, he's like up like double digits on her. Um, so you're going to have Republican women who are they're going to be having a hard time. You know why? Because they are not a reflection of women of America, right? They are kind of sticking to that older, more antiquated idea of um, a woman's place, which is really crazy considering they're in politics and they have a career, but somehow they keep advocating for kind of women to end up being, barefoot and pregnant because they're just a little woman and that's what their man wants. I mean, it's very confusing, the energy that they carry around with them. All right. So that's going to be one of the big things like they want you to watch out for. Do not panic when the polls don't look as sort of positive or as rosy as they should. All right. They're not. They're not accurate because they're not polling people who are going to have a lot of sway when it comes to voting in this election. Okay. Now, you know what? I got to ask my pendulum because I'm literally looking to see if that September 10th debate is going to go ahead, and my cards aren't giving me any clarity here. So let's just take a quick peek with the pendulum, shall we? Okay, pendulum is I believe it's ABC September 10th debate between Harris and Trump going to go ahead? Okay, so right now it is a very, very little no. I have to tell you, as I've stepped into this energy, it feels like there's a lot of um talk about how to get Trump out of this without, making him look like a loser. So they're trying to figure out how to like steal away, right? Steal away from the election. And the best that they can come up with at this point is, saying that he's sick, he's not well, something, something. The problem is they're running into a problem with that because Trump, first of all, he doesn't accurately see how really powerful and strong she is, just simply because she's a woman, right? And you can tell because he says things like she's stupid and she's not a good debater and she's not very intelligent. Those are all reflections of him because we know this, right? We know he projects, okay? But he doesn't want to look weak. He doesn't want to look like, and even saying he has a head cold, okay, is going to be looking weak for him. And so the people around him are getting very, very nervous and concerned. But it looks like he is just determined um, to go ahead with this. And I think if he does, he's going to lose badly, whether mics are muted or not muted. The um, the feelings, the energy coming out of that debate, if it goes ahead, definitely looks like she will come out ahead, and he is going to come out looking kind of weak. All right, now this is one of the cards that I was looking for. I was looking to find out. So if this card is telling me that there is a better chance than not that the debate is going to go ahead. And interestingly, this was followed by the Fool card, which of course we know is one of my cards for Trump, followed by the Three of Swords. So he's going to walk away with a broken heart, and somebody's going to walk away victorious. I don't personally think you need to be a rocket science to figure out what side is going to be experiencing which card, okay? So that's where we're at. I'm just going to stop with the cards and I'm just going to ask for any additional insight or guidance or information so that we get some clarity on anything that we want to be paying attention to or looking out for in September. Okay, you're going to see um, some races that become much stronger than sort of even expected or anticipated. And the Gallego one is a really, really good example of that. Um, Oh goodness, I've forgotten his name. The guy who's running against Ted Cruz. Um, he also is going to start getting some really good numbers and some really good responses. So there's going to be a couple or a few areas where um, it's almost like the Dems are not really expected to do really good, and it looks like that momentum and that speed is going to start building up and picking up. And Republicans who have been kind of just coasting along, thinking that, oh well, this is in the bag, are going to start getting really panicked. And that is truly, I'm sorry, but it's where you could anticipate um, kind of the worst of the shenanigans coming out, because the more desperate they become, the more um, the more volatility there is in the air, right? The more panicky energy that is, again, a caged animal. You push an animal into a corner, they're going to lash out. And so I think September is going to be a lot of that kind of energy. Because it's going to just start to be like the writing is on the wall, and Republicans are not going to be particularly comforted by what they see. Um, you're going to see Kamala and him out campaigning, doing rallies. You're going to start to see in September, like, I know Biden was with Kamala somewhere um, on Labor Day, but you're going to see, um, the Bidens and the Obamas starting to attend rallies and be speakers at rallies. That's going to ramp up over the month of October, but it's going to start, I'm being told, in September. Um, Trump is going to continue to. So I mean, I know I've referred to him this way before, and it's interesting because I know I hear that the Harris Walls campaign is using that same terminology, that shrinking man, right? Donald is a shrinking man. That's going to continue to happen, and because his ego can't almost process it, um, and in part because his cognitive abilities are getting shakier and shakier. Um, he's going to retreat. So you're not going to see him around, right? I mean, um, he's not campaigning like crazy. I mean, he's got Lewandowski out there lying. Um, he's not going to be. They've got Vance, for God's sakes, trying to be the messenger of the policies, except they don't have any policies. And JD Vance has the personality of a wet dish rag. Um, so the what you're going to see is the Harris campaign continuing to take up the oxygen, and the Trump campaign continuing to just become smaller and smaller and smaller. So again, you're going to see Republicans start to lash out. You're going to see like people like, what is his name, Jesse Waters on Fox, just going a little batty, all right, because they're going to be doing and saying whatever they need to do and say to try to prop this up. And for God's sakes, even the Fox polls um, are not good news for Trump. So that's where you're going to be. So listen, this is the deal that, as near as I can figure out about the month of September, take your vitamins, get lots of rest, stay hydrated, because it's going to be um, bumpy. There's going to be a gradual strengthening of the Harris campaign and a gradual weakening of the Trump campaign. But unless you are able to back up and look at things objectively, you're really not going to be able to see it very clearly. And so again, the month of September is about working hard, doing what you need to do to make sure that you get out the vote, that you do whatever volunteer work you can do with whatever campaign. And that may be sending in a $5 donation, or it may be, door knocking, whatever there is and whatever you can do. Because you really, really are going to want to and need to stay very focused on kind of bringing this thing home, right? Um, Getting to the end of October and into that first week of November, and getting there strong, focused, excited, because that really, really kind of is the underlying energy. Um, it's just sometimes going to be, I think, a little bit hard to see. And the final thing, I'm just asking them if there's going to be any sort of significant health concerns or issues that come up with Trump over the course of this month. So yes, okay. So of course, the more panicked he becomes, the more those cognitive abilities or disabilities really start to show themselves. Um, he's gonna be retreating, and so frankly, it's gonna be hard to know what his health is like, because he's just not going to be around um, as much. He's he they're not forcing him to get out there, because as soon as he does, then the media is doing crowd size comparisons and enthusiasm comparisons, and they know, the Trump campaign knows the news is not great for Trump, and so in some ways they're trying to buffer him. And if that means they just encourage him to hang out at Mar-a-Lago and drive around on his golf cart, that may very well be it. On the other hand, Harris and Walz are going to be busting their butts, and they're just going to continue to um, accelerate. All right. That's what I know for right now. Listen, thank you very, very much for being here. Please put your questions in the comment section below. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care and be well. Bye bye for now.